And good morning, everybody. This is Grant from State of the Spark. Welcome to your morning, my morning, our time together to share a warm cup of coffee, connect over maybe some interesting educational news. And today I am sharing some experiments. I'm sharing some of the experiments that I have done. And I don't know how many people know this, but me and Marissa live a life of experimentation, sometimes consciously and sometimes only in reflection. Right now, I've got 4 experiments going. And what some of my lessons have been from why I'm doing these experiments and where those came from the preceding experiments. We're going to cover a little bit of that so you can learn from my life of experimentation for sure. But before that, we've got some crazy other news. Yes, aliens visited 100%, and we'll tell you why. And then, of course, we're going to talk about a stolen Da Vinci painting and a fun little twist about that. And last but not least, how can we safely, responsibly treat the internet as a crime scene? And how do we protect people's privacy while we do that said crime scene investigation with the internet? So we're going to cover all that. But you know what happens before anything. Before we do any of that, we share a lovely cup of gratitude because no matter what happens today, living a life, living your best life, I was going to say, but yes, living your life in a way that's encouraging and uplifting to you and uplifting and encouraging to the lovely people around you is how we measure success. So I'll tell you what I'm grateful for today, my beauties. What I am grateful for this morning is I'm grateful for a fantastic interview yesterday with Robert Blackledge. I love talking to Robert. He is a consummate entrepreneur. He's been doing it for 5 or 6 or 7 years of not only being his own entrepreneur, but also coaching and training and supporting other entrepreneurs. We had a phenomenal interview, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that there are other people like you, like Robert, out there pushing the limits and experimenting with what this life is all about, man. So I am grateful for igniting my own life of explosive significance and having a wonderful interview with Robert yesterday. What are you grateful for today? Let's hear it in the comments. Here we go. In other news, my beautiful, beautiful friends. In other news, how to treat the internet as a crime scene. This question is becoming more and more relevant to us today. There have been several major news stories, whether it's the Capitol riots turned insurrection, whether it's the Rohingya, whether it's the warrant for Mahmoud al-Warfali and how he was found, or whether it's the Iranian protests when 304 men, women, and children were killed. What these events have in common, the Capitol riots turned insurrection, the Iranian protests, the Rohingya, what these have in common, among other things, is that a lot of the arrests were made using the internet. And this is raising some really valid concerns. You see, the internet and social media were generally used, for example, to coordinate Stop the Steal. And it's one thing to use the internet to track down, say, for example, Iranian people in the Iranian protest who ended up killing other people, whether it was the Iranian guard or whether it was the protesters themselves. When the internet is used to track down people, we might be able to use social media, look at social media videos or YouTube videos or see location data. But when the internet itself is also wielded, it adds a new dynamic. And the example I was giving was in the Capitol riots turned insurrection. The internet and social media was used to coordinate Stop the Steal. So this is akin to, I don't know, a getaway car that's used for a bank robbery. Yes, it was used to facilitate that bank robbery. So how do we treat that as a crime scene? So there's a lot of dialogue about, well, privacy, like, do you actually have privacy if you use Facebook or YouTube? Based on the terms and conditions, no, you really don't. But a lot of people like to argue that they do and that information is private, and the government and investigative bodies should not be able to use anything of theirs on the internet to persecute others, arrest people, impose warrants like they did with Mahmoud al-Warfali. Things like that. How do we use the internet? So it has raised many valid questions about rights to privacy, as well as rights to solve crimes when you've publicly posted your material. One solution that is trying to walk this fine line, I think is a very good idea. And it's known currently as the Human Rights Locker or the Human Rights Archive. This could be an app or a service that ties into social media. And an individual can indicate whether or not they want the video they're uploading to actually be preserved in the Human Rights Locker or the Human Rights Archive. And some have suggested, well, maybe this is just a checkbox in your Facebook page or your Facebook posts or your YouTube posts. Or maybe it's a standalone app where if you're at a protest, you're recording for a reason. You're recording to protect yourself, whether it was the BLM protests last year, whether it was the Capitol riots turned insurrection. Maybe you are a rioter and you want to protect yourself. Maybe you are a news person trying to capture what's going on and you're in a risky situation. Either way, you can indicate that what videos you are selecting can be used in the Human Rights Locker, and then also indicate if your own personal identity should remain anonymous or if you can be tagged as a witness. So it's a very interesting idea, and the idea isn't fully hatched. In fact, if anything, I do think it is a $1 million app idea that should get funded. So if you're watching this, there's your idea for the day. If you're curious on how the internet can be wielded, human rights protection, and honestly used and utilized protecting your privacy while also being wielded to its fullest ability to solve crimes, you've got the article right there. I suggest you check it out. That is an interesting piece of other news. And did aliens visit our solar system? Yes, indeed. Let's talk about it. How can I say yes, indeed, so certainly that aliens visited our solar system? I can say that because a Harvard physicist has said it. And if anyone with the H word in front of their name, a Harvard doctor, a Harvard scientist, you know it's fact. And so Dr. Avi Loeb of Harvard says I'm going to mispronounce this, but some of you might have caught that the Oumuamua space object drifted through our solar system last year. I'm going to put it in the comments so you can Google it yourself. I'm totally butchering the name. But we tracked this object as it went through our solar system last year. And there's a lot of dialogue is it alien or is it not? And we can only tell right now by taking photos. We didn't actually have sensors on the object. But as it passed, most people just shrugged and said, well, it's a thing of natural origin. Dr. Avi Loeb says that he believes it is a light sail sort of object made by intelligent design. So let me just put that in the comments there. He has a new book out called Extraterrestrial, the first sign of intelligent life beyond Earth. I think that's kind of inflammatory. I think there's a lot of signs of intelligent life beyond Earth, whether it's our beliefs in a faith-based belief in a godlike origin, or whether it's all of the monuments that we have uncovered over many of the years. So I wouldn't say this is the first possible sign of intelligent life beyond Earth, but this physicist definitely makes an argument for that. You can read more of that from Chicago News 9. Boom, right there about Dr. Avi Loeb, Harvard physicist who believes emphatically that the Oumuamua space object was a light sail. Good morning, Dan Sampson. I hope you're doing fantastic, sir. Thanks for the like this morning. And let's talk about a Leonardo da Vinci painting that was found. And there's an interesting plot twist here. So recently, Italian police have uncovered a 500-year-old copy of Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi. And we actually profiled the original painting here a while back. When they raided the apartment, they spoke to the man there, and he unabashedly said that he bought it at a flea market for nothing, and it was just sitting in his room. And they're debating about this because on one hand, this guy totally seems squirrely, but on the other hand, it was just propped up on the mantle like it was junk art, a copy of a Leonardo da Vinci painting, which we, until recently, weren't certain was from Leonardo. It was up for $450 million at a Christie's auction in 2017. Boom. 2017, $450 million. Bought by a Saudi prince. It was supposed to go up on display the following year, but that display kept being delayed indefinitely for unclear terms. Well, now we know the painting was stolen. But little did we know that here's the plot twist. When the police went to the custodian of the painting listed from the Christie's auction, the custodian had no idea it was even missing. So I am certain we're going to hear more about this art intrigue at another date. So, of course, I'm nerding out like, what happened? Where is Oceans when you need him? And Brad Pitt eating a hoagie. I don't know if you guys watched the Oceans series at all, but Brad Pitt is defined based on his voracious appetite. And here's the link to the article. Here we go. Boom. Boom. If you're interested in stolen paintings and artworks and heists, you have it there. There you are. So check this out. For our brief lesson today, I wanted to talk a little bit about life of experimentation. And people may or may not know this. People might know me and Marissa as the owners of State of the Spark. And State of the Spark is interesting. And sometimes it's got a lot going on, and sometimes it's not really, and kind of what's going on there. And I've been pondering this need. Now, Dan Sampson says need for. I'm going to butcher this name, Need Poirot, and I assume that's oh gosh, the Pink Panther, correct? That's from the Pink Panther. I could be totally wrong, Dan Sampson. I'm totally dating Dan Sampson. I'm sorry, brother. You're going to have to correct me on that. So people know us as State of the Spark. They know how we spark sites. I know Grant does some writing and speaking and coaching, and not really sure what he's doing right now. We know he's focused on websites. Marissa's doing Spark Explore and kind of what's up with that. Adam and Brittany have successfully given birth to Spark Bookkeeping and even scaled that and taking that to the next level. We're super proud of what they've done. But what am I all about, and what is this? And I was pondering, maybe there needs to be some clarity in folks. I live a life of experiment. I don't know if many people know this about Buckminster Fuller, but Buckminster Fuller called himself Guinea Pig B. And he called himself that because he believed God and maybe even Jesus. Agatha Christie, that's right, the Belgian detective. Yes, we just saw that movie came out. I have not read more Agatha Christie, but I really want to read more of that. So Dan, hit us with your favorite Agatha Christie novel, and we'll totally read that. I love that, man. But my life has been an experimentation, and I decided this long before I married Marissa. In my mid-20s, I was reading a lot of Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Workweek. I knew that I did not want to live a normal life. And at the time, that was expressed through ministry. And only in reflection could I say that my time in ministry was an experiment. To me at the time, it was life, and it was my direction. And so I could always reflect on the experiment of my time in ministry. And if anyone's interested in that, I would love to do a write-up on that, or maybe a small micro series on some of my experiments in ministry and what I learned, the benefit, how it rocked me, and why I believe people need to have a faith to this day. But also some of the negative, what I took away from that, and how I believe it affects proper judgment, and how I believe it affects clarity of thinking. I'd love to reflect on that, but I can only say, if I were being honest, I can only say in reflection that my time in ministry was an experiment. At the time, it was a way of life for me. So nearly every major move Marissa and I have made, and prior to Marissa, my move in ministry, my move out of ministry, my move to Lakeland was a conscious experiment. I did do that as a conscious experiment, and it has paid off and become a lifestyle. My choice to step into Starbucks, my choice to step away from Starbucks, we did not make these decisions just because we needed money. We made these decisions because we were thinking, what can we learn and gain from this transition that others can benefit from? I knew early on I didn't want kids. We'll talk about that briefly. And that experiment, and how that experiment is carrying forward. I've experimented with different types of fitness, CrossFit, lifting, Body for life. I've done all these things as experiment to actually prove what worked and what didn't. I've tested nutrition. What does 6 small meals a day do versus keto versus Mediterranean diet? What am I on right now? What about vegetarianism? What about a Daniel fast? Fasting has been an experiment of mine. And we do this, because it's interesting. It's an interesting way to go through life. And it also sets the right paradigm, because oftentimes with goal setting, people get too vested, overly vested in an outcome. An outcome should look like X. And when that doesn't happen, or it delays, or the opposite occurs, there's a huge amount of emotional disappointment. Or the inverse, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to set goals. I'm not going to experiment. To protect one's own psychology, they often don't step out when they should. A life of experimentation is my choice, because it's my choice to say, yes, my life can have adventure. Yes, I can experiment with taking my wife. Can me and my wife actually enjoy a 4-day weekend in Asheville with the least amount of disruption to our business? That's an experiment we did last weekend, and it paid off. We had a blast, and we're having a good week right now. It's fantastic. So this framework, this mindset of living a life of experimentation has been core to me. And State of the Spark, if anything, about igniting lives of explosive significance, State of the Spark is a lifetime opus for me to collect what could be simplified as experiments and living an ignited life. We know that whether it's your kids, your grandkids, your business, your job, the marriage you have, the sports you watch, or the sports you avoid, the major motive that we're all looking for is this sense of bliss and the sense of happiness. And State of the Spark is all about the experiments in helping you have as many possible outcomes or many possible tools to have the outcome of a blissful, joyful life. That is what it means to be ignited. That's what it means to ignite lives, is to be in a state that allows you to bring joy to others and joy to yourself. State of the Spark is a series of these experiments. And these experiments have borne fruit. And that fruit is the freedom frameworks. One of those freedom frameworks is the TLE, the total life experience. Basically, there's a lot of people offer a lot of frameworks. Mind Valley has 12 areas of life that you should be performing in, right? Others have no, I just focus on one thing, right? Total life experience, the TLE from State of the Spark, has 4 areas to focus on, and those 4 areas are selected to give you the fewest amount of things possible to focus on to experience a robust, fulfilled life. And that is healthy fitness and health, healthy, happy relationships, work we enjoy, and spirituality. And we believe most everyone's areas can fit under those. Well, Grant, what about adventure? Well, work I enjoy should be a degree of that adventure, right? Work I enjoy should definitely be a degree of that adventure. But so should spirituality. You should travel and have adventures for your spirit. So, for example, we're looking at going to Peru in May, which will be our own experiment. Can we be remote in a country in South America for 14 days? Can we hike Machu Picchu? So there's spirituality in Machu Picchu. Can we do ayahuasca and experience what that is legally in a country where it's legal? And what will we learn from that? And as a couple, will we become closer? So healthy, happy relationships. So to us, adventures are taken up with the idea of experiments themselves. So that's just a little bit of context. You're going to hear more of this from me because I want to constantly contextualize to you that whether it's me and Marissa trying to hike Machu Picchu, whether it's her taking girls down the Florida Trail, whether it's us launching a new business like Spark Training, whether it's me writing a book like The Mission with the manuscript I'm working on, but I'm working on a lot of manuscripts because if my life is an experiment, the documentation of that is super important. This show was an experiment and will continue to help be a way that we can facilitate some of the results of A, the experiments I'm running, and B, what we're learning from them. And that's why I always have these principles I'm garnering. And A, this helps me with my ADHD, but B, this actually helps us channel my activities into useful, sustainable business practice. So I encourage you to continue to follow along and ask your questions, or if there's an experiment you think we should really try, let us know and maybe we'll partner on that. But let me just give you 4 quick experiments and what we learned from them and what our next follow-up experiment will be, just to give you an overview of kind of what this looks like in our life. So experiment number 1, in the category of healthy, happy relationships. And this experiment that I'm about to share touches on multiple areas, not just healthy, happy relationships. But for me at this point, this experiment does fall under the category of healthy, happy relationships because of the follow-up experiment that we want. And the follow-up experiments is just like, well, duh. Here we go. The experiment is this: not having children. Now, I would love to unpack this for people in another context. And I need to first and foremost say, we do not judge harshly people that don't have kids. I feel like oftentimes when people hear that me and Marissa have done this experiment of not having kids, that we're being judgy of people with kids. And we don't want that at all. The other thing is it's selfish to not have kids. I would say, yes, I can say that. I also believe it is very selfish to have kids. And I don't mean that as a dig. I mean people seeking fulfillment and meaning and purpose in a variety of ways. And I believe a lot of people have a lot of fulfillment from taking care of their kids and their grandkids. I don't believe it's self-centered at all. From an Ayn Rand objectivism sort of view, I believe it stems from a selfish desire. And for some reason, some people see that with kids and other people don't. So I believe that any course of action you make, whether it is to have kids or not to have kids, I believe it's a moot point to say that that is selfish, because we make every decision from our desire centers. Just hopefully we're not being self-centered. You don't want to be both self-centered and selfish. It's okay to be selfish. It's not okay to be self-centered. I don't think. That's another topic. So let me say this. For those who have kids, we do not judge you. We know the species must carry on, and we know that you love your children very much. It was an experiment for us for several reasons. Number 1, we wanted the cushion of time and focus so that we could pay attention to the global impact we wanted to make in our lifetime. That's number 1. Number 2, cushion of money. We knew that we wanted more resources to live the adventures we wanted to live. Like, we were very aware that we wanted to live more adventures, and we knew that we did not want to tie up our money too awful much with the raising of children. So we were very clear on that for ourselves. Number 3, we did want to focus on our marriage and our relationship together. We wanted to make sure that we were present for one another. And too often, me and Marissa agreed that when people do have children, though there is another element that we could never understand. I do agree with that. There's something beautiful that we could never understand. We decided to make it a priority to focus on our marriage instead. The other reason is from our missionary work, we did realize there are many children around the planet who need loving parents. And should Marissa and I ever decide we do want to be parents, we know that the first step would be adopting. That it needs to happen. And last but not least, and this is just a personal conviction, it's not a judgment, we also believe that the sustainability of the planet is important. And in many cultures, they do not have the luxury of not having kids. They have to have kids for a sense of legacy, for carrying on the culture. In the developed world, we do have the luxury to have that choice. And just like I choose to not have plastic bags or whatever, me and Marissa also made that decision. That was kind of our framework. You might disagree, you might agree. That's not the point. The point is that was what was an honest assessment of where we were coming from. So the result of this experiment, and we knew this both individually, independently when we came into our marriage, and then we discussed this before we got married, and we discuss it multiple times each year. And the result of this experiment so far to date is that this is a fairly solid MO for us now. It's a lifestyle now. The experiment has graduated to lifestyle. We've now been married almost 10 years, and we can both agree that we are likely not going to have kids. Now, that's us. That's our conviction. And I'd love, if anyone cares, I'd love to unpack pros and cons. Now, if you have kids, you probably don't even want to engage in that conversation because you have kids and the focus needs to be having a successful raising of that child, right? So that needs to happen. Me and Marissa want to be Auntie and Uncle Grant, Auntie Marissa and Uncle Grant. We want to be that. We crave to be a part of a community where that is our role. And we like that from a tribal standpoint. We like that just like the Hawaiians have auntie and uncle, whatever. We want to be that in other people's lives. So that's kind of where we're at. So what is our next experiment? Well, this is what contextualizes this as a healthy, happy relationship. At this point, taking care of one another is top priority for Marissa and I. So our next experiment that we've just begun, and you're going to go, well, duh, parents do this. People with kids have probably already focused on this, but me and Marissa spend so much time together, we take it for granted that we don't have a date night. So me and Marissa have in the past and more recently in a focused way trying to have an experiment with creating a date night. And that's going to be Sundays for us right now, I think, like Sunday date. But this week, that'll be a Saturday night date night, and how to make it spicy, how to make it fun, how to make it interesting, and how to create expectation and excitement around that in a way that's helpful. So we're going to try to, that's our next experiment. How that goes off, we'll let you know. We'll let you know what the results of that are, but that's what's going on. Second experiment, CrossFit. In the fitness and health world, I started with Chad Lindsay and Elizabeth Carpenter and several people. We started, actually before Elizabeth even moved to town, we started doing CrossFit at the local Gold's Gym. And we had about 12 people that would constantly come out. Gold's Gym got sick of us and kicked us out. And then several of the CrossFit box gyms started really becoming popular. We were doing it from the main site workout. Whenever the website would post the workout of the day, we would just go to Gold's Gym with our group and do it. So here's my results. I got great results from that. It was great to be a part of the CrossFit community. Fantastic. However, the time commitment and the lifestyle, even doing it on one's own at the gym, has just been far too high. I love the results I got. I love how I feel when I do CrossFit. And every time I'm like, I'm going to get my fitness under control, I always think fondly of going back to the time I spent with CrossFit. I had the peak fitness I've ever had in my life. I was confident in my ability to do nearly anything physiologically that I wanted to do. The stretching and the flexibility were huge. The strength and endurance were fantastic. But here's the downside. The time commitment it took just doing the stretching, the workouts, and the cool down, as well as the nutrition required, it's just way too high. It has to be a lifestyle. And the other principle I live by that I have learned by experimentation, time is the currency of the rich. Right now, I have too many responsibilities with our streams of income and our experiments in business to give that the time it deserves. And so, good morning, Brittany. Thanks for the like this morning. I hope you're doing great. So with that in mind, I had to just put a kibosh on CrossFit. I could talk about some of the other experiments, Body for Life, which I've experimented with, German volume training. We could talk about that. We've done a lot, but I just wanted to earmark. I love CrossFit. I recommend it. I look forward to the day, and I'm saying this, I'm putting a pin in this. I'm looking forward to the day that our passive income is enough that I can reprioritize total fitness. I haven't taken fitness out of it, but the total commitment of CrossFit is just way too high. I have nutrition experiments coming up that I'm working on. We'll talk about that some other time. So what is my next fitness experiment? My next fitness experiment that I'm working on right now is I'm canceling my gym membership. I'm jogging 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I've just ordered kettlebells. And I was reading an article by Tim Ferriss. And I was reminded that he got a lot of his start even before the 4-Hour Body and the 4-Hour Chef. Even before those, he was doing kettlebell training 2 days a week. You got to get the nutrition under control. Abs are made in the kitchen, handstand. We get that. But like weightlifting burns more fat in a lot of ways than the investment of cardio. But I'm not getting rid of cardio. My body responds very well to running. So I've done Monday, Wednesday, Friday running. I'm going to do Tuesday, Thursdays, either kettlebell workouts or jump rope workouts right at the house, and then focus most of my attention on nutrition. But this is my current thing. Can I keep my fitness level up? This is not nutrition. This is fitness. Can I keep my fitness level up in a smaller time component, probably 25 to 30 minutes every morning, 5 days a week, and that's it? because I got other stuff I need to focus on. So that's the second experiment. You heard my lessons about CrossFit. I love it, but the time commitment is way too high. My third experiment, 3 of 4, almost done here, keto. This is the nutrition experiment I went through. So keto, I did late 2020, and I did it solid. I mean, committed. My wife can testify. I did not cheat at all. This was beautiful for like 3 weeks. I went from 215 to 185, a healthy 185. Like I was walking, I was jogging, I went and got my blood work done. I happened to get my blood work done at the time. All my numbers were good. My healthy cholesterol was a bit high, or my cholesterol was high, but it was my healthy cholesterol. So my doctor was like, wait a minute, it's really high. And I've never seen the healthy cholesterol this high, but you're looking good. I was also intermittent fasting off and on, not every day, but many days of the week. I will say this. Here's my learnings from this. Focus on the greens, don't focus on the keto. I would allow myself dirty keto, butter and eggs and bacon, and I got results. I dropped weight. I got into ketosis and dropped a lot of weight. My gut always felt like, greasy. My gut always felt nasty. So if I were to revisit this, and I'm revisiting this a little bit now with my next experiment, I'll share that in a second. I just should have focused on like pumping up the greens and cutting the sugars. The meats and the grease would have taken care of itself. So my summary of keto is this. It worked really well. And if I want to pull it out as a tool in the future just to get like a massive weight drop, if I have other habits in place like greens, a high volume of cauliflower, a high cauliflower of leafy green vegetables, if I have that high, I would use a keto for about 2 weeks, maybe even just 1 week, kick it off with a dirty keto, just let myself eat whatever I wanted as dirty keto, and then cut back to a clean keto. If I just wanted a bump, I would do that. I'll talk about intermittent fasting as another experiment in some other day. But I would say this, keto is great. I don't think it's sustainable, and I do not believe it's good for your carcinogenic health. Cancers, I do not think keto is good for that. I do not think keto is good for gut biome health. So that's why I say I think I would focus on the greens and the gut biohealth, which is why my next experiment, let me finish this one. My next experiment is this, and I'm doing this. I started this pretty well on Monday and Tuesday. I got wobbly Wednesday, and I'm going to try to be back on it today, and I am so far this morning. And that's my Mediterranean diet, truly committing to a Mediterranean diet. I still need to limit meat. In a Mediterranean diet, you generally limit any red meat back to like once or twice a week. Now, we got something from Brittany here, and Brittany says, my Chinese medicine doctor said 70% veggies. Yes, this is it. 20% protein and 10% carbs. Cleared up Brittany's inflammation and skin problems. And is that your other comment as well, Brittany? Yes. So I love this comment. And with the Mediterranean diet, Brittany, everything I'm reading is pointing to this. Yes, they might have some yogurt, but it is like less than, in this case, less than 20% of the diet. High grains, high leafy greens, high veggies. Eat the veggies. Where are the veggies? Eat them, put them in your face. And carbs themselves, the Mediterranean diet is calling for berries, not a lot of fruit, but carbs are going to come from the veggies anyway. Carbs and healthy proteins. Broccoli has more protein density than steak. People don't realize that. So a ton of broccoli would be fantastic. So yes, this is the experiment I'm running now, is the Mediterranean diet. And I'll continuously loop you in. If I gave up on it, I'll let you know. If I'm pushing it on, I'll let you know. My fourth and final experiment is work in the category of the TLE called Work I Love. And the one I'm doing right now is painting. Now, work I love, work. The Greek root for the word work is energon. And that comes from our word energy, right? Energon, energy. So the work, the energy we expend in a day, that's what I'm experimenting with. How you manage your energy, not just your labor, not just your carpentry or your real estate management or my website company or my training company. That's work. Quit categorizing that way. Ask yourself how you're managing your energy, your energon, your work. That is where it comes from. So what I am working on today, or my current experiment, is painting. You can see that I've been doing the paintings here. You know I've been about this since Breckenridge. I I'm working on a large 4x4 painting that has a black base and gold. We're going to do my duct tape thing and do some splatter stuff. I'm experimenting with the fulfillment this brings me. I'm experimenting with how often I can get this time in while balancing the energy I expend with the website company and the training company and my partnerships. So this is a time management and an energy management experiment and a fulfillment management experiment. So far, what I have found is this. I am extraordinarily fulfilled in my painting, especially when I'm not painting, especially when I'm not painting for anyone else. I love posting the paintings because I love showing what I'm doing, but I love it. And currently, I've only been able to do it about one day a week, Saturdays. I'm trying to incorporate it so it's part of my evening routine to come home from my day energy, my day work, come home, change, do a light second wind workout. I got that from Robin Sharma, whether it's just like 20 minutes of jumping jacks or push-ups or an actual full-blown workout, it'll be limited to 20 to 30 minutes. But once I make that change, I probably still have website work and coaching work and follow-up ClickUp work or clicky work that I need to do at my computer. But I try to make sure that I incorporate the painting work as well. So here are my challenges. Sometimes I don't get to it after work, and sometimes it conflicts with another energy I like to expend, and that's writing. I feel called to writing. I feel a Greek divine calling to do my writing, which is where some of the experiments end up. So I believe that the painting is now taking some of the writing time. So I'm trying to figure out in my experiment, what I'm trying to do is how do I incorporate writing into my day work that I do during day hours and make it contribute both to me so that I'm fulfilled and to you so that you're growing and learning from my own experience and it benefit my companies. And what I've found that when I am writing and producing content for my companies, in Grant's case, and maybe yours as well, it produces a lot of awareness, a lot of marketing. I did the interview yesterday. I need to follow up with that interview I did with Robert Blackledge, write about it, and publish my findings in there. And publishing, I just mean by posting my findings, that adds to the market awareness of who we are, what we're about. I get a ton of inquiries. My TikTok, I get so many inquiries on TikTok for coaching right now. It's out of control. And I want to make sure that so my experiment in painting is to do my writing as a small chunk of what I do for the day work. So that's the current experiment I'm doing right now. So these are my 4 experiments I have done and the experiments we're pivoting into. The experiments I have done with healthy, happy relationships is not having kids. And our current experiment, and that one has turned into a lifestyle for us. And our current experiment is doing a date night, an explicit date night. So we're doing that. I've done CrossFit, and my current resolution to that is it's awesome. It gets good results, but it takes up way too much time. So I'm currently working on running and kettlebells at the house, kettlebells to build muscle strength. Nutrition-wise, I've experimented with keto. It has a risk of just dragging you into dirty keto and poor gut health. So I'm now experimenting with Mediterranean diet. And last but not least, I've experimented with writing in the past, total fulfillment. I'm now experimenting with painting, high fulfillment. I don't have a lot of time and it's conflicting with other things. So my experiment now is time management. So that's what we're up to. Listen, I just wanted to share with you an insight into my life of experimentation. That's why we do any of this. And more importantly, what I hope you gain from this is that it's okay to live a life of experiment. In fact, that's the middle ground of committing to the public, committing to your loved ones. Hey, we're going to try this. And for it to be okay for that experiment to not pan out. We could call that failure or we could call it learning. But if you live a life of experiment, the out of, hey guys, conclusion, this experiment didn't work, let's shift gears to a new experiment. Your life's going to be more fulfilling. You're going to do more exciting things. There's going to be more grace for you and your team, your intimacy team, your business team, your relationships, to move forward at a more rapid clip with experiments. And that's the context I've gained from a life of experimentation. I hope you learned from my 4 little experiments. If you're curious about what other experiments, or if you have an experiment you absolutely believe I should do, then do let me know. Real quick, Dan circled back and answered our question. He believed we should read Agatha Christie's Murder of Roger Ackroyd, The Murder on the Orient Express, are 2 of his favorite Agatha Christie novels. So check those out. I hope you guys are doing great. I'm going to go spend breakfast with my lovely wife. I hope you have a great day igniting lives of explosive significance, but I do encourage you. Let me encourage you. It would light me up to hear the experiments you're working on for a more fulfilled, more ignited life of explicit significance of your own. Have a great day. Give me your feedback. Let's talk about it in the Goals and Gratitude group. But go out and make it a killer, killer day. Here's to you. Have a good one.